Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Sal Greco Show. And I'm your host, Sal Greco. Thank you all for tuning in. I see everybody in the chat there, 1804 Bank, Sleepy Joe, Hard X Core. Thank you for tuning in. It's you guys are always here, which is a good thing. You know, you want to be informed because you don't want to be low information. So if you can, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the notification button as well. If you're watching on Rumble, please hit the like button, hit the Rumble button. And if you're watching right now live on X, streaming all over the world, please hit the like button and the repost button and share this out with all your friends, especially those in the low information bubble. And there's plenty of low information going on right now, in particular to this New York City mayoral race. And the reason this has become such a big topic, right? And it's like everywhere. I see the New York Post, the Daily News, it's Fox News. They're all jumping. All these social media influencers, I don't even know where they're from, jumping all over us. I mean, look at this New York Post. Look at this disgraceful headline. Just walk away, beret. Okay, and all of this goes back to this real estate billionaire class, which you've heard Marlon mention. We spoke about this a while ago when it came to the nightclub extortion racket and one of the places that were in Coney Island, who was buying up property next to the place that was raided by the 60th precinct and had a certain former police commissioner's twin brother go in there and try to extort the guy and everything. So this goes back to this billionaire class, and it's very important to keep that in mind, all right? Because there's a lot of misinformation going on, and it's got a lot to do with backing Cuomo. First, they backed Eric Adams, then Cuomo. I mean, here's a piece from the New York Times today. Curtis Sliwa has a spotlight. He's not about to give it up. He's under heavy pressure to drop out. The pressure is from the billionaire class and these social media influencers who, A, have never stepped foot in New York City, B, probably don't live there, C, don't know anything about politics. He just showed up to the scene. I got one guy, I don't even know who this guy is. He was talking about all over the weekend, Curtis can't win, all this stuff. I don't even know who this guy is. He has 60,000 followers, but I do notice that there was a trend with him. He kept reposting about Eric Adams and he's a victim. And now all he's done is shift that stuff over to Cuomo. So you see, it is a three-card Mamdani. It really is. It's the same person times three minus one because one guy left. So it's the same thing. It's the same people. Some people, you don't even know who the hell they are, show up to the scene and I want to tell you how to vote. Mind you, this guy says he's from D.C. or lives in D.C., lives in New York. He's from Harvard. I don't know who the hell he is, but I know one thing. When I was in the 71st precinct, standing on a foot post, all right, protecting Crown Heights and locking up bad guys, this individual was watching Saturday morning cartoons, either in his diapers or in a pair of shorts. So I don't know how this guy could tell you what's going on. He doesn't know anything about anything. But these are the Bill Ackman and John Katz and all these people. And I heard today what Sid Rosenberg said also. I'll get to that in a little bit. But there's a chain of events. So let's play this chain of events of what's been going on in the media in the last couple hours. This is after last week's debate, which in the mayoral debate, which was an NBC, the first hour, which was primetime, was all about Trump and Israel, okay? And those are two things that I don't know how they affect New York City, especially the day-to-day operations. Hour two was all about New York City, but that was not on prime time. That was a local thing. So it was all about clout chasing and getting those little, snippets to play over and over again on NBC. So that was disgraceful. Tomorrow night, it's going to be on Spectrum on New York 1. You're going to see Errol Lewis, whether you like the guy or not. I happen to like him. We just don't agree on things politically. You're going to see how a moderator really does things. And Katie Honan. That's going to be the debate to watch. If you want to know about issues in New York City, what you got to vote for, that's what you're voting for, folks. Not for what Fox News is telling you, not for who's going to visit Israel. You got to worry about New York City citizens. And amongst those citizens is a Jewish population. But I don't know how what's going on overseas is going to affect these individuals or these citizens in New York City. You're the mayor, not the president. And there was a lot of chatter about the president, yet all the president does is okays funds. So you need a working relationship with the president. If you're fighting him, then he can withdraw funds and make things very difficult for you. And I think Curtis's answer was right on the button. He's saying it's better to try to get along and have some kind of good dialogue versus I hate him, he's the devil, which is what Mamdani and Cuomo want to do. And they want to jostle for position over who's more liberal and all of that. And that's not how it's going to work. New York City's in shambles and needs some outside help from the federal government. Then you need to have some kind of rapport with the president, and not the rapport like Eric Adams, who's his stooge because he should be in jail and he let him off the hook. And it's the same people that helped in that situation that are now telling Trump Cuomo's the guy. So let's play the first video, which actually came from the president himself. He was on Fox News over the weekend with Maria Bartiromo.
I think it's not good to have a communist, okay? Would I rather have a Democrat than a communist? Barely. They're almost becoming the same thing.
What about a Republican, Curtis Sliwa?
Well, look, I mean, I don't know. He's a Republican. Is he really a Republican? Am I a big fan? This isn't exactly ideal where he wants to make Gracie Mansion a home for the cats. Gracie Mansion is a magnificent home of Fiorello, LaGuardia, and the great mayors, Rudy Giuliani. Yeah, Rudy Giuliani was the greatest mayor in the history of New York. He did a great job.
So you're going to get
He
involved?
went through hell. So I'll make a decision.
Soon?
Yeah, I guess.
It's only 3 weeks away. The mayor's race is 3 weeks away.
I don't know that I'm going to get involved. I don't want to be endorsing Democrats as an example. It's not my thing. But would you rather endorse a Democrat than a communist? Barely, because they're almost the same thing.
Let me tell you something right there. This guy, I don't know where he's getting his information. He might join the low information group himself. First of all, the guy in Gracie Mansion, he's talking about having cats there because Curtis has a lot of, he's an animal lover and him and his wife rescue cats. I don't know if that's a bad thing or not. But the guy who's there right now has had drug dealers and thugs in Gracie Mansion and doesn't even sleep there. He's actually living in New Jersey. So, and that's his buddy, by the way, the guy he let off the hook. So I don't know where he's getting his information. And as far as who he's endorsing, President Trump's approval rating in New York City is 34%. His endorsement would probably basically destroy whoever that candidate is. He soft endorsed Eric Adams, and the guy never crossed 10% again. Now he's been leaning. He doesn't know whether to lean to Cuomo or not. He was trying to, but he can't say it public because that'll torpedo him as well. So he needs to stay out of New York City business, which he can't. Why? Because his friend, like John Katz, who we're about to show you, is another issue because they're all real estate buddies. They're all looking at their own personal interest. The best thing for Trump to do is worry about the country, Mr. President. There's a lot of issues. You need to worry about what happens in Israel. Why? Because that can affect New York City. Not New York City. It affects the U.S. as a whole. As far as New York City goes, all they need to do is say, we care about New York City taxpayers and citizens and the people that come here. That's New York City's concern, not what goes on overseas. Because what goes on with Israel is also got Qatar. You got Saudi Arabia. You got all these foreign nations. That's Trump's line of work, not the mayor of New York City. Unless you're like Eric Adams, you were taking money from everyone. We're going to get to that in a little bit with Mr. Mamdani. So now I'm going to show you what John Katz, the owner of WABC, and this guy says he's Republican, but he's anything but that. And his money and his donations show you that. This is Curtis Sliwa's boss. Remember, Curtis Sliwa works at WABC. He had a radio show there. Whether he will have one later on, I don't know. Let's hear what this Mr. Wonderful John Katz has to say.
He knows every subway station. He knows every neighborhood. But Curtis has to realize that he should love New York more than anything else. And it certainly looks like that Curtis should pull out.
Yeah, Curtis should pull out. John Katz cried for Eric Adams not to go to jail. He was one of the guys, I believe, that was publicly calling on Trump. This is not any good. You know why? Because Eric Adams was looking out for John Katz's interest, never New York City taxpayers' interest. He clearly never did. He doesn't care. which is why he didn't, he quit the race because everything was out in the open with him. Now John Katz is telling you he needs to drop. Everyone needs to drop out so that his person, Andrew Cuomo, can win. And we're going to get to that also, what Andrew Cuomo had to say. But John Katz, literally his entire station now, he has Sid Rosenberg, the latest, Dominic Carter, Rita Cosby, all these people saying that Curtis can't win. And I don't believe that they personally believe this. But in order to get a paycheck from this man in a floundering radio station, apparently you have to agree to this. Now, John Katz, who's a billionaire, could have easily helped fund Curtis Sliwa's campaign. The Republican Party in New York City could have helped Curtis Sliwa. Not only his campaign, boots on the ground. Right now, though, he has a great operation because he's handling it himself, basically. But all this help could have came from one guy. He's supposed to be the biggest Republican in New York City. He's anything but that. This guy, his actions and his rhetoric are two different things. The only person he cares about is himself. We should actually look if WABC even makes any real money. They aren't in the red, and this is just another tax break for this guy because he's holding these things over these people's head. At least that's what I think. That's what has been alleged out there. His rhetoric, though, for a guy who, he's been friends with Andrew Cuomo a long time. He's helped him. He's funded his campaign. So he helped all that defund the police nonsense. He funded and was hanging out with Bill de Blasio, Mr. Defund the Police himself. He also helped out Eric Adams, another guy that, has destroyed New York City. Kathy Hochul is a good friend of his, another person he helps fund. He likes to play every side of the fence because that's what benefits him as a business guy. But right now, if he's a so-called Republican, what the hell is he doing trying to say Cuomo is the answer? When clearly the New York City voter who's voting for Curtis Sliwa is got integrity and will never vote for Andrew Cuomo. This guy locked down the state. He ordered Jewish families having marriage. They're trying to get married, and he wanted to lock them all up. Let's not forget about that one, okay? That was a big thing for him. He also was ordering to have places shut down or they were going to come after you. And he wrote a book about his nursing home disaster. He spent millions of dollars on that with a ship that he didn't even use. And he made money off that book doing what every night? Let me remember. Oh, yeah, that's right. He was there with his brother every night bashing Trump. Remember that? Or maybe we forgot about that. I guess John Katz doesn't remember that because he was too busy hanging out with him. Lampwick here, $9.99 to the Sal Greco Show. Shout out to you. Curtis Sliwa B, no-kill animal shelters. F Catman, F said we are voting for Curtis. Gonna give a shine now. Now the body, you can do this, Curtis. You're right. I'm agreeing with you. I'm really disgusted by what I'm seeing. There's that book, by the way, that Andrew Cuomo got sued for the profits. He's still trying to work with this, by the way. Just so you understand, everyone out there, he wants the money that they stopped giving him. He's suing to try to get back. So he loves this kind of stuff. So now let's hear from Andrew Cuomo himself. This is a guy who very recently he had something to say over the weekend too about Curtis. So let's hear what Cuomo has to say.
He is not a viable candidate to win. He knows that. But he is a viable candidate to make Mondami a winner. I am hopeful that before the end of the day, he realizes that there's something bigger at stake than his notoriety.
There's something bigger at stake. This guy is the guy with no chance. And all his little minions that they're paying for, you're going to see on November 4th the results of all that. This guy is unelectable. He has the highest unfavorability of any candidate left in the race. He was right behind Eric Adams when he quit, Eric Adams. So that will play a huge factor. He cannot win. It's a fact he can't win. And he's already hit his ceiling. Now let's get to Zohran Mamdani, because Zohran Mamdani also did something over the weekend. So let's hear Zohran.
Andrew Cuomo is spending more time pleading with another candidate to drop out than making his case to New Yorkers as to why he would be the next mayor. And the reason for that is he doesn't have much of an agenda to share with New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. Whether it's Curtis Sliwa and Andrew Cuomo running against me on November 4th, or it's just Andrew Cuomo, the result's going to be the same. We're going to win.
You're giving this guy enough. This guy is like barely getting to the end with his own scandals, you know, campaign finance violations, which I keep telling you going in, he's going to be handicapped because they found violations. Okay. Right here, you could see this is straw donors going on here. You notice how this person said they're a student. Okay. This Benjamin Abelson, unemployed student, gives $2,100 to this campaign. From out of state, by the way. Who is this guy? Okay, there's more. There's other people. This guy, Fouad Cochinwa, One Step Diagnostic. He's the president of this company. We don't even know who this guy is. $2,100. Another, he's from Sugar Land, Texas. So, do you know who else did this? Eric Adams. And look how that ended up. And if you end up in the crosshairs of the federal government, you're done. So he's walking in as mayor that he's going to be a dead man walking because he's going to get indicted over this stuff. That's clear as day. I don't know if you people see that yet. So if you vote for this guy, just remember he's more than likely going to get indicted somewhere along the line because that's what they do now. They're just political warfare, using lawfare and courts. Nothing's changed, even though we thought we were going to change that with the election of Trump. So that's a huge problem for Mamdani. But finally, we're going to hear from Curtis, who's been dealing with all this stuff while he's campaigning in 350 neighborhoods. That's all the neighborhoods in New York City, by the way, 350 of them. Let's hear what Curtis had to say.
The elite, you see, they're trying to push me out, and they're trying to silence you, the hard-working people that make this city work. They haven't recognized you or come to your aid at all. The old ways have been the worst ways, but now they suddenly come to you and they want your vote. No. We mobilize. We hit the streets. You are the volunteers who are going to help me take back this city. That's why you've got to join me on this Saturday, the first day of early voting, when I cast my vote and we get all the Sliwa supporters out there in force to cast their vote, because the billionaires are not going to determine who the next mayor is. You, the people, will.
I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. It's a fact. You, the people, will decide this race. Having one guy need to drop out for since when has this happened? Did they do this back in the day when it was Bush, Clinton, and Ross Perot? And by the way, Ross Perot, you could say, took away votes from from Bush at that time, who was not, but his approval ratings were dropping. So he was an incumbent that was, he could have been had. And that's what ended up happening. But nope, Ross Perot ran. By the way, on the ballot, you're going to see that the first line, which is all people see, is Mamdani Curtis. Then Eric Adams at the end of the line. And the second line, all the way on the right, are the 3 people that no longer are running, 2 people that are no longer running, and then Andrew Cuomo. Jim Walden was running around spewing all kind of hatred. Mr. 1%, Jim Walden, shout out to you. That guy running around with he knew so much about politics, he dropped out of the race. He always was at 1%. He never moved the whole time. No matter what we tried to have him on, we tried to give him a platform. Now he turns and completely is a Cuomo fanatic, like some of the rumors that we heard about that guy. But enough giving Jim Walden any kind of shout out here anymore. So also there was something else, because there was a post I'm going to show you. This was an article that was written that I actually was quoted in. So let's show you this post that I posted up. This is coming from The Gothamist, which was a post that I reposted yesterday on X. And in there they were asking me about, is it going to be a mass exodus of cops if Mamdani wins or whoever wins, right? So it says right here, Sal Greco, a conservative former NYPD officer who now hosts a podcast about the department, also cast doubt on the possibility of a mass exodus of NYPD officers if Mamdani is elected. That's never happened before, Greco said in an interview. I think if you took a poll, I don't think they would want Mamdani to be the mayor. I think they want someone who's pro-law enforcement like Curtis Sliwa. But they'll just deal with whoever is the mayor. It's not going to make or break their career. That is a fact, folks. NYPD cops are not going to leave their pension or whatever it is they have set up because a mayor is getting elected. The majority of the people have a problem in the NYPD rank and file, have a problem with the police department itself, how it's internally run, which we're going to get to in a little bit with my guest. There's things that go on in the day-to-day operations that affect a cop's life, such as their direct supervisor, the commanding officer, the borough commander. You know, you want a day off, you don't get it. You're working 5 days in a row, then you're going to work the days you have off every single day overtime. That affects your life. These are things that matters to a police officer. The mayor, I worked on the Bloomberg. I never saw this guy once. He never affected anything that I did, which was in the 71st precinct, the 60th precinct, wherever the hell they sent me. You know what did affect me, though? What your sergeant, your lieutenant, your XO, your executive officer, the captain, or the CO, the commanding officer, that affects you. And they have little games they play. It's not just they listen to the mayor or whatever the agenda is. They have their own little games they play. That will affect the mass exits. And by the way, people are going to retire because they always do. The numbers are right, they retire. People are leaving the job in droves under Eric Adams. Not so much, well, he's one mayor that's directly impacted the New York City Police Department, but his appointed leadership, a.k.a. the Kaz Daughtry's of the world, a disgraced former chief that's no longer there. Oh, and the disgraced former chief that left before that disgraced chief left. These are the things that affected the lives of the police officers every day, not the mayor. So that's a correct statement by me, and I stand by it. And I think the rank and file would too also. And it's pathetic, some of the stuff that what we're seeing. And last but not least, there's this post I put up. It was earlier today about Curtis Sliwa and what's going on in this race. Okay, so this is the truth here coming from me. Reality is Curtis Sliwa voters will never vote for Cuomo or Mamdani. A Cuomo voter, though, would vote for Curtis. It's never happened where someone drops out of a race and all of a sudden all their voters flock to one candidate. So everyone needs to stop lying to themselves here, no matter who is paying you to state that ridiculous lie. The truth is there is a coordinated campaign to destroy Curtis, who is a real threat to the establishment, which includes John Katz and his billionaire real estate friends who first aided and funded the current criminal occupying Gracie Mansion. And now the man who bashed Trump 24/7 and made millions on a book about that and his nursing home fiasco with lockdowns. Disgraced former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Don't be low information and fall for this, no matter what radio or TV personality tell you what to do. You know what is right from wrong in this. We have seen this trick before. Imagine if those real estate people actually did the right thing by the people and helped the Republican candidate for New York City mayor instead of trying to destroy him. That is this entire incident or whatever happened in the last couple of days in a nutshell. You claim you're a conservative, you're a Republican, Bill Ackman, John Katz. Why aren't you supporting a Republican candidate for mayor, but you want Andrew Cuomo? Oh, that's right. Cuomo and Mamdani both want the city of yes. That will directly profit you, your companies, your real estate, but Curtis is against that. That's very interesting. And that's pretty much hitting all the points here of what's gone on in the last few days. It's disgusting. Tomorrow there'll be the debate, the second mayoral debate. It will be a doozy. I have this to say. I know I saw Sid Rosenberg today. Don't fault Sid for now jumping on Andrew Cuomo's bandwagon because he's got a new contract coming up. He needs a contract with WABC. Maybe Sid doesn't believe that he could do better on his own. I do. I think everybody there could do better on their own. But in order to get your contract, you're going to have to follow suit with whatever John Katz wants. He's the boss. So him, there's other people there. Don't fault them. Look at who the owner is, John Katz. That's all you need to know. And if you don't like what you're hearing from John Katz, he has the Gristiti supermarkets. Don't go there anymore. There's other supermarkets you could go to. You could boycott Gristedes. Not like it's a great place to shop anymore. The supermarket business has gone down. Give your business elsewhere. You basically, you're voting with your pocket. You're letting things be known with your pocket. And that's the best way to send a message. So, John Katz, be a better man and support your employee that you say is your friend and all this stuff instead of being, Cuomo, Mamdani. You're going to help elect the Mamdani. You're the reason why. You're one of the biggest reasons why. You and your billionaire class friends. So, if anyone has a problem, it's John Katz, and I don't know what to say. Hopefully Curtis pulls this through no matter what. So I guess now I'm going to have a word from an app that actually helped me over this weekend, and I'll explain later why. Free Spoke. I know you surf the internet and you search for things on a search engine and you don't get what you're looking for. Well, I have a solution for you, and that's Free Spoke. Free Spoke is a search engine that does everything without all the restrictions and all the censorship, and there's no porn ads. Free Spoke is about authenticity rather than agendas. Labels media bias, no intrusions or data leaks. No porn ads, like I said, unlimited, unbiased AI, also deep dive podcasting. You can look it up. Go to freespoke.app.link/Greco. Download the app. You could also use the same link to get 35% off the premium subscription, which would be well worth it. Try it out. freespoke.app.link/Greco. There you have it, folks. And you actually, once you go to that and you download the app, it's Greco 35 for 35% discount on the subscription. And over the weekend, the first place I saw that reported the incident regarding the Secret Service at Palm Beach International, because I guess they found basically a sniper's nest that pointed directly at where Air Force One would be. That story I first saw pop up on Free Spoke. I didn't see it anywhere else. CNN, all these people, I get no notifications. First one would be Free Spoke. Everything else came afterwards. So again, it's an unbiased company. They don't do anything slanted, unlike Fox News and all those wonderful companies out there that are just telling you Curtis can't win. There's the sniper's nest. That's what they identified. And this story was on Free Spoke first. They were the first ones that reported. I didn't know about it until it popped on the phone. I said, "What's this?" So that was an interview. So once again, Free Spoke. Go there, download that app, and also Greco 35 to get your 35% discount on a premium subscription. And you could also do your little articles if you want to read up on AI and stuff like that. It's pretty good. It's like ChatGPT, but it's the unbiased version of it. So now I'm going to go into what the main topic here in discussing. And I finally have them both on. So first, I'm going to show you what happened over the weekend as well. It happened on Friday night. And that's the story of NYPD Detective Frankie Palaguachi. Okay, we know him. He's been in the comment section forever. This is my post. It said the NYPD has terminated Frank Palaguachi over a scientifically unproven method of drug testing from the company Psychmedics, despite ruling against a federal court case that ruled this test is no good, awarding millions. More on this Tuesday on the Sal Greco Show with also his attorney, Eric Sanders. And you see that's the letter that they handed him dismissing him. Okay. And I can't believe they did this because they basically are overruling a court case that proved that this testing method is unscientific, and they had to award jobs and millions back to the officers in Boston Police Department. They got fired for the same thing because this test it's just BS, and it's been BS for a long time. All right. And then there's a secondary post because there's also the fact that now there are doctors that are challenging this. Okay. And there was another exclusive I got, and I'm going to show you it as we go along right here. These posted documents from whom Nordstrom are a citizen's petition to the U.S. FDA challenging Psychmedics and the continued use of a proven unscientific drug screening test used for NYPD continued employment, and which they're still using to this day. And as you can see right here, that's the citizens petition. It's about 15 pages, and I'm going to have Eric explain this to you better. So without any further ado, I'm going to have former, right now for the moment, NYPD Detective Frankie Palaguachi and his attorney, Eric Sanders.
Good afternoon, Sal.
Good afternoon, Frank and Eric. I didn't think I was going to have you on. You know, Frank, I really thought for all of us, when Marlon Bethel was there at your trial, I really thought that the police department would have been smarter and not go through with this. But apparently, you know, they only know to go through the motions one way because they're never held responsible. So before anything else, Frankie, tell the public a little bit about yourself, your career, and then what ended up happening here.
Okay. I was born and raised in Queens. I started off in the auxiliary program at MTTF in 2010, which is now at CTTF. Then I took a pause for school. Then I rejoined the auxiliary program for the 19th precinct in 2012. And then I got hired by the police department in 2015. I joined the 19th precinct command. And then from there, I continued my career. And 3 years later, I joined the Manhattan North Borough. I was lucky enough to get picked up by an executive, which is from Manhattan North. And then I followed her around to Transit Bureau, PSP Bureau, and Housing Bureau. And then from there, I'm here in this situation.
So, but your record in the NYPD is unblemished, correct? You didn't have any discipline. You weren't a problem. So there's nothing on your record that says this guy Frankie, I don't know, he's a bad guy, or you know they should discipline him or anything like that.
No, nothing at all. No CCRBs, no.
You don't have any of that stuff. So you know
nothing.
So your record, because see, that's how you come up. There's nothing there. So for anyone that thinks, oh, Frankie's a problem child, he's not. So how do we get to this point where you're getting randomly doled? Like, you know, they say this is a random dole test. I've dealt with this myself. That's how I know this stupid procedure. How did you go from showing up to do this test to all of a sudden they're saying you tested positive, and then there's a whole thing because I believe there's other tests involved that showed that you were negative? So how does this work?
So on February 22nd of 2024, I was randomly selected for this random drug test. Also, in that random selection, my brother was also on the same day selected as well. So I don't know how random is that. And after 4 attempts trying to reach out to me for this random drug test, they finally reached out. I find it very odd that, you know, after 4 attempts, they couldn't, you know, reach out to my supervisor or ask them, you know, he needs to show up to medical division or anything like that. So a week later, I find out I tested positive for THC. I said, you know, I told investigators I don't do drugs. I wouldn't do it. And is there any possible way? I told them, listen, I do pay detail. I do OT transit. You know, there's small marijuana everywhere, and in my neighborhood, you know, marijuana everywhere as well. So that could be possibly, but no, they didn't like that response, and they moved forward to suspend.
So they suspended you off this, saying, "Oh, he tested positive for marijuana." Now, did you not have other tests? Because only one sample, right? The other ones came back negative.
So I took 6 independent exams. Okay. Two body hair, 2 head hair, negative. A body hair, armpit from Omega, a toenail test, negative. And then I took a polygraph test so I could show that to my DEA attorney so he could have my word that I'm telling him the truth. So he could fight for me the way I want him to, which unfortunately he didn't. So other than that, I also paid for a DNA test to be done to that hair sample that the medical division collected. They unfortunately didn't grant me that, and I don't know why. But like I said, I'm just trying to prove my innocence. I know I wouldn't smoke marijuana to jeopardize my career for something stupid. No, and plus that month I got suspended. I was getting promoted to sergeant, so I was already foreseeing myself getting promoted. So there was no need for me to damage my career like that for something stupid.
I agree, but it's just wild how the chain of events, how they went about this. So then now you're suspended, right? So are they giving you the highway therapy? You got transferred somewhere far away from where you live. Did they do that game with you?
So they didn't give me highway therapy. Luckily enough, I was they gave me somewhere close enough to home, which was quartermaster. I have no complaints. Everyone is there treating me with respect. Unfortunately, I was suspended, but also I got to meet many other members who were mortified as well. And I got to find out that a person in that place who tested positive for marijuana as well was reinstated with no penalties. And also with that excuse that, exposure, contamination. But here I am, terminated, while others don't have the, that situation as me.
Yeah, and you just see in the comments here, Hard X Core says, so according to the department, there can never be a false positive. Their tests are 100%. Never heard of any test with that kind of reliability. So go into this test, because I remember having Eric on before, I had Marlon on. When you were in the trial room, I believe this sergeant said that you're supposed, the way it says it in how you're supposed to take a sample, they're supposed to take a sample from the back of your head to be accurate. that's what it says. Where did they take this sample of hair from you on? What part of your body?
From both my legs and both my arms.
Oh. So that means that they didn't do what the procedure is supposed to be.
No.
Okay. Because then this medical review officer, who's the second in command in the entire police department in regards to the medical division, and he has over 40 years of experience, allegedly, and he's been there since the 80s. He doesn't even know this procedure, and he couldn't explain himself in the trial room. Am I correct?
No, he couldn't explain. Also, he couldn't explain why my independent exam was sent to the same lab, not to a different lab. So, which, didn't grant my due process as well.
Oh, my God. Can you explain the trial room for a little bit? You were in there. What kind of kangaroo court you had to deal with, what you were hearing from these people. I heard a little bit from Eric when he was on and Marlon, but we got to hear it from you because now you're here. How did you think about that whole experience and what was going on in there? Because I know it's like almost like you're scratching your head the whole time.
Honestly, I felt like I was being attacked by the trial judge, by also the their attorney, trying to undermine my integrity after showing them that I tested negative on 6 independent exams, and plus I'm requesting a DNA test. I just I couldn't believe what I was facing in this trial room that's supposed to protect me, which is not. And I was able, my experience is that I didn't have faith in that trial room at all to come out innocent.
This is unbelievable. So you're not allowed to challenge this thing. I know the process in there was ridiculous, dealing with how you were talking to them. They don't want to hear anything. Now, unfortunately, you did get this letter on Friday, which was kind of expected because these people never move past, they just go through the motions. Even the soccer mom was in charge now. They just, whatever, who cares? Because they're never held personally responsible for anything. It's always the taxpayer. Because if that were to change and you took away qualified immunity from the decision makers that if you make a bad decision like this, since there's a court finding that says this test is not scientific and they awarded money to Boston Police Department for the same thing, they should be held responsible for this. But you got this letter. Why don't you explain to us, Frankie, how now it affects now your family, right? You have a special needs son, Frankie. So how does this leave you being terminated for this nonsense, knowing that the Boston Police Department had people get terminated for the same thing and they had to rehire them with back pay and admit that this test is not even scientific?
So when I received the letter, I was shocked. I was expecting a retaliation because like you put a post of the doctors finding that this hair was never approved. I get terminated the next day, and this actually happened to me a couple of months before, where I requested the DNA test. I also got demoted within hours, which I saw that retaliation coming. Personally, like it affects me as a father. Like we all want our kids to have everything they want, especially have a special need kid, and I'm trying to give him everything he wants, but I can't now because I'm in a situation where now I have to look for a job, look for funding, just to remain my family as stable.
Yeah, I'm very disgusted by this because it seems that the police commissioner and everybody there in charge never take into account the life that they're about to alter with these decisions they make. When this one in particular makes no sense. But before I go to Eric, I ask him something. Frank, where was the union? Was Scott Monroe, DEA president? Where were these people when you were being not only attacked by these people, but essentially they suspended you? Like, where was the union?
So I did my own digging with what happens. How could I defend myself? So I saw that this drug test process breached the collective bargaining agreement. So this affects everyone from the top to bottom. The CBA, the LBA, the DEA, the SBA, the PBA. So I reached out to all of them by email personally. Vice president, president, let them know with facts, with other cases, with discrepancies and everything. No response. I reached out to the fraternal groups, the Hispanic Society, no response. I reached out to the Garden Society, no response. I reached out to DOI because this affects the public, no response. I reached out, I tried to speak to my DA attorney. No, there was no movement. So the only hope I had left was you guys. The Finest Unfiltered, Sal Greco, and I was able to meet Eric Sanders, who has been doing an amazing job, and he's been exposing a lot.
So in sum and substance, the union is useless. That's what I'm hearing. That's basically they're not doing. They don't protect their members. They selectively protect, the children of certain people, maybe, or the relatives of certain people, but not just people like you because you don't belong to the inner circle of these clowns. That's what this sounds like to me. Because if you were at Sobro Gardens or Conso Frito, I'm sure you wouldn't have had any of these issues. Just saying.
I tried. I only didn't try to reach in once. I did it 5 times, and I got receipts of me trying to plead with them, support me. This is what they're about to make a determination is going to be dangerous, not for myself, but for everyone in the police department. I got friends, I got family. This is going to affect them. So this is mostly what I'm fighting for is for the past, present, and future. And I wouldn't want this to happen to anyone, what's happening to me, especially if you have a family,
Yeah, did see? Yeah, Sleepy Joe says, should have dropped off an envelope with $10K at Conso Frito. Caban would have taken care of it. Phil the Heater says, the random drug tests are not random. I got in a verbal disagreement with a chief, and the next day I was notified I popped for a random drug test. It was great because I was getting out. So you see, there's a lot of people that are saying exactly what you're saying and have been victimized with under the same circumstances, the test, the random, and all that. So now shifting over to Eric. Eric, now we have a case where he definitely was terminated for this. Unbelievably, they did. I don't know what they're thinking. So what's the next move for you with this? And I saw that also we have psych medics gets challenged by the FDA by the doctor and went to the FDA. So there should be movement on that. I think that's a big move. So what's your take on all that?
Well, this is not unsurprising because they'll never admit that they're wrong. But you remember, I got their own. He's not even an expert, so I don't know why they keep calling him an expert. Expert is a third party that's evaluating a system or a process or a product. Not you talking about your own product. He's an employee. I got him to admit there's no scientific standard. There is no standard. There's no agreed upon standard. They didn't know what the uniform guidelines are. There's a whole bunch of things they did not meet that I got them to say in the trial room. And what the trial commission did is try to blow me off like I don't know what I'm talking about. Meanwhile, this test has already been determined to be invalid. And that, it was cocaine versus marijuana. If you fail one panel, you fail the whole entire panel. But more importantly, as this is going along, and this is something some people may have known, I was looking to challenge this when I was a cop, when they first started talking about this in the 90s. That's how long I've been thinking about this test. Something interesting came up after the trial room. So they never try to prove whether it's scientific because it's not. It doesn't pass the Fry test, which is for the state, or it doesn't pass the Dubert standard, which is the federal government, but it's the same thing. It's a scientific standard. They didn't even try to address it because they know it doesn't pass. They know it doesn't fit the uniform guidelines because it's invalid. The bottom line is he should have been found not guilty. They should have dismissed the charges. The trial commission gets cute with her little sarcastic self. And normally I don't say things like that, but she's being smug. Like that means something to me. Doesn't mean anything to me. It shows you you're amateur and you're unprofessional. That's why you're sitting in the trial room. But you didn't address the legal merits of what the argument is about. So doing the pendency of this, very interesting. This is why you never know when you write things who's really watching it. So I get contacted by these professors, these medical doctors, and they're from law school too, out in Boston. And now they kind of reveal themselves so I could talk a little bit more about it. They're from Northeastern, and there's actually another one from Boston University. These guys are medical doctors and lawyers. And what do? They challenge the veracity of medical devices. And they happen to see this whole thing about me talking about this psych medics hair test. They start digging into it and say, hey, we're interested in this because we think this thing is being misused. I never thought about it that way because, hey, I'm a lawyer. I knew about the validity argument, but misuse, I haven't even thought about. So during the pendency of the decision, I have a conversation with these guys and they say, look, I think we're going to write a citizen petition. Although Frankie's name is not on that petition is on there because of Frankie. Mm-hmm. That's what they really challenged. So I said, okay, fine. But they put something very interesting in that petition. A day before he got terminated, October 16th. You can go online and look at it. I have it on my website. Sal has it. You can also look on the Food and Drug Administration website. It's a public document. But they filed on October 16th. Frankie gets terminated the 17th. And it has some very interesting that I did not know. They said, look, this license number, they only got qualified to address 4 different methods of drug testing: urine, saliva, serum, which is blood, and sweat. Whoa, wait a minute. And then it said in the dash, no hair. Wait a minute. Now, if that's true, and they weren't certified to test for hair, that means, presumptively, they've been illegally testing people's hair, whether you tested positive or not, since 1996.
Oh, God. So this is going back 30 plus years now, almost 30 years. It's 29 years.
That will unravel all this litigation against all the people. And like I said all the time, all these people who don't care, well, I didn't test positive. You're still being subjected to a test that's being mislabeled, used against you, which in of itself is a violation of your rights. I know people don't like to think about that, But the bottom line is you're being subjected to a test that's not valid. And if the Food and Drug Administration can confirm what we believe, guess what that means? The police department has been subjecting its employees, applicants and employees to this dumb hair test, whether it's the RIH version or the EIA version. One is an enzyme and one is a radio tag. It doesn't matter. It's the same analysis. Illegal for almost 30 years. I knew it. I smelled it. I always knew it. And now I'm even more firm in this position. What they did to him is illegal and everyone else. And it's including the random test. There's random. You're supposed to test the random analysis under uniform guideline. None of that stuff was done. And these unions, they take it for granted. They don't do any research. The courts rubber stamp everything. And people think it can't happen. All you got to do is you want to look at something that's unraveled, look at Thompson versus City, New York. Before, if you got your case dismissed as a false arrest, yeah, but you weren't proved innocent. So therefore, you could have been guilty. You just got a technical dismissal. The Supreme Court came along and said, what the hell are you talking about? The Constitution said the government has to prove you innocent until proven guilty. You don't have to prove anything. If you're not convicted, guess what? You're innocent. I don't care if they got all kinds of evidence against you. You have to be convicted. Unravel almost 60 years of wrongly decided cases. So people think it can't happen. It can happen. Recently on the Muldrow case, Muldrow, under this anti-discrimination law, they said, what are you talking about adverse employment action? We never said that. Congress said some harm. Unravel, 50 years of litigation going back to the 70s. So if people think courts don't make mistakes and they're on their own agendas, you don't know what's really going on here. Frankie could be anybody.
I can't believe that this is going on still, like the way this happened and the way this trial room has handled it. And I mean, Phil the heated guy says again, he says here, the unions are the problem. They need to fix the trial room. The trial room is the trial room was where this thing should have ended because proved without a reasonable doubt that this test was ill. Should be voided.
No.
Should be voided, but it should have been voided.
I didn't understand. It's in another jurisdiction. I said, I listen to these people talk to me sometimes. I said, who the hell do they think they're talking to? That's called persuasive precedent. If another court already ruled on something, you don't ignore it. You take a look at it. Because guess what? They litigated the whole damn thing. They litigated on the civil service level. They litigated on the federal court level and the appeals court. They were only one court short of going to the Supreme Court. And more important, the city of Boston turned around and sued Psychomedics for indemnification. You know what that means, right? You gave us a faulty test, and now we got to pay these people because of you. So that should tell you where all this should be going.
And this is what I'm talking about, because the police commissioner, the trial commissioner, all these executives ignore a federal court's decision and a judge's decision in a matter that was already litigated. So going into the trial room, this was never, ever, they never even considered this. They just kind of blew by it anytime you brought up anything in regards to this.
And remember, I got the same Psychomedics lab director to admit that he can't prove the difference between ingestation and external contamination. And what he's given is a hypothesis. That by definition doesn't make it valid again. But those are all the ways I undermine it. And guess what? The trial commission didn't address any of that. They ignored it.
Yeah.
What kind of court is that? You ignore the legal arguments. And it's not Eric's opinion. These are coming right out of court cases.
This is why this happened. And this is why this is a complete injustice of, Frank, you didn't even get a fair trial because they don't even consider anything. It's just like me being in there is the same thing as seeing Frankie in there. They did the same exact thing. Here with me, it's fake subpoenas. Here we're going to disregard any prior court precedent.
And if you remember what the trial commission said, I said, no one has ever challenged this hair test like we're doing it. We're talking about the science of it, not trying to match your evidence against evidence. That's stupid. First of all, you got to have the first threshold. It has to be valid because what's the old saying? Garbage in, garbage out. Or the fruits of a poisonous tree. All these law enforcement people, you understand that. It doesn't matter if you would have discovered it. There's something called an inevitable discovery rule in New York. In other words, Oh, I know I may have done something illegal up front, but it would have been inevitable if I'd have got a search warrant, I would have found it. Guess what? That's not going to fly either, because once it's bad, it's always going to be bad. You can't fix it. And remember, the trial room, I got him to admit a lot of things that undermine the whole thing. You know what she said? Oh, well, the courts are ruling our favors before. She didn't, so she just sidestepped the whole argument to say what the other courts have been rubber stamping for years. So everyone's rubber stamping everything wrong. No one's looking at the science of it. And now we're going to finally get a scientific challenge to this whole thing. And with that, hopefully, with the Food and Drug Administration will substantiate what we suspect. That means the test never should have been used for hair testing, period. They've been, although they're basically a penny stock now, so I don't know what that's going to be for damages, but they're going to get sued. And so far, Frankie filed an EEOC charge of discrimination back in April 18, 2025. You think he's heard anything from it yet? Nope. The police department hasn't responded, and neither has Psychmedics. And I have to file another one, too, for the termination. So they don't want to address this because this is going to be their undoing.
Because they're so arrogant that they just can't. Look, it's a penny stock. Psychmedics, folks, worth $2.10.
Remember, Psychmedics was the biggest company out there doing lots of stuff. They went in Brazil, everywhere. When I first started looking at this now, forget about it. They're a shell of themselves, and they're going to pay because there's a lot of litigation coming to the NYPD's way and Psychmedics. They don't know. We have some stuff planned for them, and that's outside of Frankie's case.
And here, see,
I'm going to go take the company down.
Marlon says this best. It says it's an extension of lawfare. The job is saying we don't care, sue us, we'll grind you through the legal process. Thank God Frankie has a good attorney. You know something, Marlon? That's exactly what they're doing with me too. That's exactly what they.
Yeah, we're still waiting for your decision.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for a decision from August. By the way, August. It's now October. It's going to be November. And mind you, Eric Adams is no longer there. So whether they make a decision that hurts Eric Adams or it won't, he's not mayor. He's not going to be mayor. So what's the holdup? I don't know. The court should tell us. I have no idea what they're doing. And they're still fighting a case that, let's be honest, how are they going to defend criminal association? I don't know what that means, criminal association, because they're too busy hanging out with Jimmy Rodriguez to care, you know?
Remember, the internal affairs investigator couldn't even answer the question. And when I say, well, so have you ever received any training? No. Do you know what it means? No. Is there a definition for it? No. Okay, no. So that means by definition, what do you do? It's something arbitrary. You just made it up. So how did you come up with the decision? Oh, me and the inspector, we can't. Oh, you're just saying you sat around the campfire and went, what are we going to do? Okay, this is the plan. Break. That's the plan. I mean, come on already. And then your picture, oh, he must have been doing something wrong. Sue Elle's picture, oh, well, we don't know why she's doing it. Oh, you mean context matters? Oh, it matters for some people and other people don't matter. Oh, I got it. Come on, man. It's a joke.
That's right.
And they weaponized that system. That's what's terrible about the police department. And you know, like I said, I had a chance to come back under this administration. And I didn't do it for my own reason. But one of my goals, I said, if I ever go back to the NYPD, is dismantle this trial room process because it's bullshit. The advocate's office is a waste of taxpayers' money. Most of the charges don't even fucking belong there. It's all personal bullshit. There ain't no real corruption go through. It's all personal shit. And then the trial commissioner will forget about it. It's even worse. They come up with their crazy rule. And you're like, what? Is this person a lawyer? What the hell are you even talking about? Scary. Millions of dollars down the drain. No bueno.
I've agreed with this forever. And I was part of it. And like I said, they also did the old, well, they're saying Jimmy Rodriguez, whose history is out there, is technically in their eyes. Now, remember, they're being the arbiter of truth. In their eyes, is not as bad as Roger Stone. That's what they really are trying to say. So now they're saying who is a good person, who's a bad person. They're making value judgments, which they shouldn't be doing that. And they made one here too, because they're trying to say, you, Frankie, you're a bad guy, but that person that you know that got he tested positive, they let him back in through the back door, guaranteed knows someone.
Well, you know what's funny is how the lab director, this Dr. Ryan, I forgot his last name.
Paulson.
It's Ryan B. something, huh?
Paulson?
Paulson, that's right, Paulson. He had the audacity to testify on the stand that he can tell in gestation. I said, God damn, I can't believe he said that. So meanwhile, I confront him with his own writing, his own research. And he says, well, you know, it's a little different, but it's a hypothesis. What the hell are you talking about? And that's the very reason why in Boston, the people who wrote the decisions in the Massachusetts case said, you can't tell us the difference between ingestation and external contamination. You don't use this kind of test for that. And what's interesting is if you look at the Securities Exchange 10Ks, and I went all the way back to 1992 with Psychmedics, it specifically says that particular type of testing should not be used for cause termination. This is crazy, man. And then when I try to use that as evidence as admission against their own interests, she said, no, I can't use it. It's irrelevant. How the hell is it not relevant? You put a company statement out to the public and it's not relevant to challenge and undermine your technology? I mean, come on, already. I never seen anything like it before. It's crazy. And I know the rules of evidence well. I said, anyone who claims to know it so well don't know a damn thing. That's the problem.
Well, remember, in my case, they had said that when I found out about the administrative subpoenas, and then I told them, well, we were asking them, well, you said that I was on drugs. And then they said, well, this line of questioning, I'll let it continue, but it's not relevant to the case. The whole premise is they illegally use a subpoena to get my phone records, which showed that there's nothing illegally done.
And they've altered department records to perpetuate a fraud upon the department's the subpoena mechanism. You don't see that as a credibility problem? How can it not be relevant? I mean, these people are ridiculous, man. They're horrible. Because they never let me do that job. No way.
Yeah, and I think it's more of an agenda behind it because that's how they control who they're going to hire, who can, they want to control who they keep there because, again, it's a big club. And if you're not in that club, God forbid you get in their crosshairs, they do what they just did with Frankie. So, Frank, what are you going to do now that this is going on? And I know, I think you set up, somebody set up a GoFundMe or something for you because clearly now you're going to need money to not only fight this, but now now you're facing what I am. You're terminated. So in the eyes of an employee, you got fired from a municipal job. You're no good to society. That's what you're going to be facing. So what's the plan of attack here for you? And what do you have planned in the future, to try to get yourself back on your feet?
So before I answer that, Sal, I just want to make sure that so nobody else goes through this. I want to let them know that before you go for a pre-employment, random, or end of probation drug test, make sure you ask them, is this hair test valid? And also ask them, where are you going to take the hair from me? Where are you going to take the hair sample from? It's supposed to be from the top of the head. And if they cannot, they should move to urine as well. And then if you're around a person who was overdosed, or you were in a concert where you do pay detail like MSG, and people smoke marijuana, you can't control that, or your partner, as well, like your friends, anything do marijuana, and they're bright. They're close to you. Remember, it's New York State, it's legal, so you can't really discriminate anybody who does it. But make sure you take your own independent test after to cover your ass. That's all I'm gonna say, just for the members who are active.
You see what Frankie said? Sounds reasonable, right?
Yeah.
The problem is it doesn't mean anything to the police department. It's not built into their process. Matter of fact, if you remember, I asked that question. I asked Dr. Kuko, who was supposed to be the medical review officer, who hasn't had training in 40 years. I said, what, if any, rights does an employee have if there's an adverse testing? It tests positive. Is there a way to challenge it? Oh, we just test the same samples. Who cares about the same sample? What about doing an independent test? That was one of the ways that they found the Boston test, the methodology and process was invalid, by the way. because there's no way to challenge their own test. Your test can't be the only one, because remember, if something's scientific, and the way easy for people to think about this is this. If you take a blood test, that blood test result should be the same if you took it at one laboratory or you took it at 100 laboratories. It should all be scientifically come out the same. If you're getting 10 different results, 100 different results, by definition, that's not scientific. Remember, it's supposed to be objective, not subjective analysis. And that's why hair testing hasn't been validated. And mind you, the first time they started testing hair was back in the 1700s. And they still haven't come up with an analysis for it. Why? Because it's not stable. That's the problem. There's no agreed upon standard. You can't wash out the external contamination to the degree of certainty where scientists feel that it's something that we can rely upon. And, you know, it's just sad what's going on here. They need to stop using the test. Most of the big employers, and they've stopped using this hair test a long time ago.
But for whatever reason, the police department, which is kind of paying them to use this test, is still involved with the company, even though they're basically a penny stock at this point.
They have to be paying them in millions a year. Millions, guaranteed. And that's all right. The psych medics in the city of New York, we're going to be coming for you. The litigation is going to begin. And this time, Eric's not doing it by himself. I'm going to bring a team of people. This is going to be good. We're going to try to destroy the whole system. That you damage people's lives for almost 30 years, and there's going to be hell to pay for it. Trust me.
I can't wait to see the way that works. So Frankie, back to you. So what are you going to do?
I'm not that type of person to ask for help. I'm always, helping people out, and this time I need help for the reason, to support my son, my family, to keep this litigation going, because Eric Sanders is a good attorney, but it's his price, his work comes with a price, and it's good work, and this is going to benefit everyone, and also people in the past who were terminated illegally, they could feel that they weren't terminated wrongly, but other than that, I appreciate it if anybody could donate, or pass that GoFundMe around. It will get to somebody's hands who truly believes what we're fighting for, and only if you can. That's all I ask.
So what would they have to go? Where would they go to help you?
So I set up I haven't shared it yet, but with your permission, I'll send it to you, and maybe they could find it in your X account, and I'll probably share the link out as well. There's a GoFundMe account.
Yeah, it's got your name on it, because then we'll just put up now. So just Frank, it says Frank Palaguachi on it.
Frankie Palaguachi. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see if Jack could find that, and we'll try to put it up for you. So I don't think it's right that you have to go through all of this, and you just got terminated. I know what it feels like, and you also have a special needs son, and now you don't have medical insurance because the soccer mom wants to rule that the courts don't mean anything, the findings mean nothing. You need to terminate you. That's what this feels. That's what I'm seeing here, because this is ridiculous. And I've seen this. Like I said, it happened to me. It's happened to other people, and the whole system. It's not fair, and I don't like what they do in this trial room. The trial room needs to be eliminated. It's it makes no sense. Department Advocate's office. I mean, look, these people. And by the way, Internal Affairs, I believe, their own scandal right now inside of there. I'm going to get to the bottom of that also. They have another scandal in there, right? Am I right? Or am I wrong?
Yep.
They have their own scandal going. These are the people that are supposed to be investigating cops and all that. Yeah, they need to investigate themselves first and see what they're doing and looking around them. And
remember, it's the do as I do culture. Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly. See, look who's in the chat today. Quatisha Epps. Everyone knows who she is. I hope you all know, because she's a courageous person that helped taking down this corrupt establishment right now. She says, Frankie, I'm so sorry that this is happening to you. You have an excellent attorney and a team of supporters. You've donated so much to the Sal Greco Coffee Club as they stand for answers. Now we can donate to you as you stand for the masses. So,
thank you.
there you have it, Frankie. So we're trying to get this up, the link to your the GoFundMe. I wanted people to try to help you out, whatever they can, because this is crazy that Frankie doesn't have a job over this. And this test, I know I've heard, because I'm not mistaken, somebody put in the chat, a couple of years ago, there was a sergeant or someone. She was a sergeant with de Blasio's unit, and she tested positive on a week. But she didn't. She tested negative everywhere else. And, of course, we know that the Mayor de Blasio and his wife used to smoke a lot of marijuana, and that's what they found in her weave, and that's what they terminated her for. Same thing. She just didn't challenge it in the right manner.
There's a case where I, like, before I started this, I made sure that, everything was done right. So I read every drug text case in the trial library that the NYPD has, and it's the same errors. But there's one case in particular, is Heather Santos. He tested positive for cocaine. The trial judge was able to find him not guilty, but Commissioner Swell overturned it. For what reason? No reason. Just because he tested positive on his independent test as well. But the scientists were able to prove this is contamination on his part, because he was exposed to an overdose, victim. And there you go. There's another situation where somebody was wrongfully terminated.
So there's other cases in it, but like I said, the job doesn't really, they don't care. It's like they just say, okay, we'll litigate this and we'll grind you out because you're not part of the club. Like we just saw somebody get 3/4 disability, and then they just happen to be, I didn't see him get rolled into with a wheelchair into WABC studios, but for that, taxpayers are paying for that, Just to give you one example. Again, it's a medical division as well, because they're the ones that help with this 3/4 pension nonsense, and they're the ones that say, oh, you're drug screening, and then also the ones with the unlicensed psychologists. It's one unit, medical division, that has a bunch of problems. And I wanted to show this to both of you guys. So very recently, in the last couple of days, something came across about someone who's on an investigative track. So I posted this on X, right? So let me read this to you, because it's twofold here. So this was an exclusive by the Sal Greco Show. Discretion isn't merit, it's power. Let's talk facts. According to sources, police officer Gianni Fernandez Jimenez, tax registry number 972640, was officially assigned to the Technical Assistance and Response Unit, TARU, on January 22nd, 2024, but never actually reported to the unit. Yet somehow her name was still submitted for promotion to detective 3rd grade. She moved from the 28th precinct to the Office of the Deputy Commissioner of Public Information, DCPI, and then to TARU. The person reportedly behind these moves, Tariq Shepard. So the question becomes, how is Fernandez Jimenez connected to Shepard, and how does someone get passed through multiple commands and onto a promotion list without ever showing up? This isn't some paperwork oversight. There's a command structure in place, a chain of command, supervisors, administrative officers, and yes, a timekeeper, all responsible for tracking attendance and assignments. So how did this slip through? Or was it never meant to be caught in the first place? Log number M, remember that, 24-2276 isn't a criminal case, but it's an administrative trail that says the department knows something isn't right here. Another scandal under Police Commissioner Jessica S. Tisch. Explain how this keeps happening on your watch. There's a little bit more, though. And here you see the letter here. That's from the Personnel Orders Division. So just as of October 21st, which was, what is that, yesterday?
No, today.
It's actually today.
This morning.
This morning, Gianna G. Fernandez Jimenez was administratively transferred to the 49th precinct from Taru, and the investigative track assignment discontinued. I have this posted up. And as you know, if you don't know, she didn't sign in for about 11 months and 2 days straight by her own words. So this is another scandal. Here's somebody working overtime. Oh, who's approving this? So before people run off and we're going nuts about Epps and all these people, I told you there's more than just what you thought, that this wasn't just a one-person problem. It's all over the place. And you're going to find out who did what. So, Eric, I don't know if you want to chime in on this one. This seems like a real doozy. And that M case makes it's administrative. No, it should be criminal. It's criminal, not administrative. But funny how internal affairs.
You know what's interesting about it is that so it shows that she wasn't keying in and she wasn't signing in, right? So then the question is, well, who was monitoring her for the last 11 months, right? And who put in for a promotion if she's not showing up to work? What the real question is, though, is what was she doing for 11 months? Because that's the unanswered question. We can kind of hypothesize how she's connected to Shepard because, you know, he's like Madre Jr. So, and I said it so well. I never met him before, but remember, I have my tentacles at the department going more than 30 years. So believe me, I know about a lot of things. He's another Madre. So the bottom line is, what's going on here? What was she doing for 11 months? And who put her in for a promotion to 3rd grade with no investigative time? Come on. Remember I keep talking about meat eaters and grass eaters?
That's right.
There's your meat eater, right? She was being passed along. And by the way, she only had 4 years on the job. So how she went from the 2-8 to DCPI to Taru and Forma, people been on the job for years and will never even see Taru. They may not even see them out there walking around with the Taru jacket on. And 4 years in, she's in Taru. Who's kidding who here?
This is a
now,
joke.
what are you going to do about that, Tish? This is under your watch. So now it's interesting. When all this happened, it was a time period when the Epps case was going on before she broke it. In December is when they found out about this woman missing. So believe me, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. We just don't know what they are because the police department is good for covering things up. But you know what the beautiful thing is? I keep saying this. I said it before. Your show and what the guys are doing and posting is having an impact. Yeah, you don't have the masses. You can't scale it because you're not legacy media, but it doesn't matter. You're going to get the impact because the bottom line is the legacy media, the Times, the Post, the Daily News, and all these people, they're not going to write about this stuff. They say it's inside baseball. No, it's not. It's not inside baseball. It's taxpayers' money. The question is, again, how did this case become an M case? Because that allegation, that means if she wasn't showing up at the work, you're talking about more than $100,000 of taxpayers' money is paid to her. I guess that's grand larceny, isn't it? So that should have been a C case. So then the question is, well, did you take it and go to the public integrity unit at the Kings County DA's office or New York County and go to Bragg because it was in the city? Okay, what happened? How did it become an M case for misconduct? You know, there's so much stuff that goes on, it'll make your head spin. So that's why when they try to point out things, there's certain people, you're like, nah. And what about these other 10 things you're not talking about?
This is unbelievable. You know, I got Epps is in the chat. She said, retired personnel officer here. There must be an unpublished transfer. That's how you hide movement. And that's also what that should be on the record because
we're not supposed to talk about our little secrets now. That's going to be coming out soon, though. You're going to learn a lot because there's a lot of people think they know stuff. You don't know anything. The investigators and everybody think they know something. You know nothing. That's the one with the information right there.
Yeah, she's actually pointing that she is right about that. So that is a little nugget for you guys now. And Frankie, you were a detective. Look how they just gave this woman a bump to 3rd grade, whereas they just want to destroy your life. And I guess the unions are all going to try to back this woman. And it's funny, you mentioned Hispanic Society as well. Joe Ayala, Mr. Jimmy Rodriguez's friend, he did nothing for you either, right? He didn't call out, he didn't reach to you, he didn't try to help you with any of this stuff. Am I right?
I mean, I reached out to him, to at least have representation at the court. My trial court, nothing. I send him comments on his, on his post, ignored, So, but I see parties, I see a lot of, awards they give to themselves, which I don't know what they mean, but I'm fighting for something for the Hispanic society, for everyone, put this attention to this where this benefits everyone, not just me. This is like Eric Sanders told me, this is bigger than me, and I can't do this alone.
Because they keep talking about, well, he failed. Yeah, because you're looking at the cart. You're not looking at the horse. You got to look at the horse first. And that's what we have a tendency to do. And Sal likes to say low information. I like to say uninformed people. They're just uninformed. They think it really means something. Well, they must be given a test. It has to be valid. Oh, yeah? Let's see. How many medical devices were out there? And then years later, you hear about, oh, Tylenol, this happened to you. Or this medical device caused this to you. Or the mesh, oh, no, that caused this problem. This is what this is all about. It could look like it sounds good. Wow, they would never do that. Then you find out 10, 15, 20, 30 years later. Well, like cigarettes. Here's a famous one with cigarettes. Cigarette litigation. Oh, there's no... Then you see the secret documents that talk about how they want to make people in society highly addictive, would do all these different things. And like, wait a minute, they really planned this? Yes. And what we have a tendency to do is, they would never do that to job. And I passed, and I passed, and I passed. You don't know what you did. You only know what they tell you. Remember, they're the one that controls the results on who passes, who fails. There's no way you'll know about it because it's all internal unless they decide to disclose it. So we really have no idea the true number of pass and fail. Then we don't care anyway because it's not a valid test. So who cares?
This is like going to see this thing. It's like in my mind. I remember hearing this when I had you on recently, and then Marlon on, and my head was spinning just seeing and reading the trial transcripts. And we wrote an article also. I believe Jack wrote it for the finestunfiltered.com. You go back and read that, and it's just, I don't know how they did this. And really, the police department itself has backed themselves into a corner, whether they want to admit this or not, because they're always the champions, or we can't lose. But in the end, they've lost a lot, But usually they do it for themselves, So I don't know. I mean, all you had to do, Frankie, was if you know the right person, you could sign. You don't have to sign in for 12 months, and you end up going to Taru, Frankie. If you're one of those people like them, hanging out with them, you get away with murder. Almost get away with anything you want.
People say like if I might have, ate a edible, done a hookah that might have been laced, or someone next to me, anything. But I said, okay, so what about how come you don't look at my 5, 6 negative independent tests, right? Also,
you see what he just said. That's important. They want to try to come up with a reason for it, as opposed to saying, well, first of all, can this test do what they say it can do? That's the first step.
Yeah.
They want to talk about all the reasons why it could have happened. How about the damn test is not valid from the very beginning?
The test isn't valid. I've heard horror stories. You had Mike Smith in it, Detective Smith. He was dole tested about 20-something. Talk about targeting. In his 20-year career or so, he was tested a ridiculous, like over 20 times. Sometimes, I don't know, John McCarry was tested twice in a matter of days. I have a friend of mine that did it almost every day in a week once. I think his total was ridiculous. So it's also how they target people, which is not what it's designed to do. I thought it was random, and I know, and I've recounted the story, like I told Frankie the other day, where I was there and I saw them literally take names off of a list that was random, got a phone call. Whoever this person on the other line said to do with whatever, that's what they did,
right?
Typing in tax numbers and this will all come out in any kind of litigation. This is not something the NYPD can hide,
So
You could drag this litigation like they're trying to do with me, but eventually, somewhere along the line, you're going to have to answer for it one way or the other. It doesn't matter who's the mayor,
And for the people who don't know that's listening, the Boston litigation took more than 20 years. It took almost 25 years. Because remember, they started issuing and started really promoting this to law enforcement back in the 90s. Like I said, their first 10K is in 1992. And the litigation in Boston started in 1993. And then it continued all the way up until 2023. That's when the case settled.
Yeah, this is, I see this as, I'm not saying it's a long road ahead. I could see that they're not answering, they're playing games, but within the next I'd say 6 months or so, they'll have to do something. Something's going to come out of all of this. They're going to have to, they can't hide forever. Just like they can't hide with me. They can't hide with Marlon. They can't hide with all these other people that they were supposed to return back to work. Something's got to give. It's because they want to play a hot potato and toss it around. It's not going to work, So I know, Frankie, before we end all of this, Frankie, I know you want to talk about the election and everything. So who is your pick? You heard me earlier to be the mayor, and why?
Well, my pick, Curtis Lewa.
Yeah.
First of all, when I used to do auxiliary, I used to see him at the subway station. I used to see him walk around with his team, looking, for something might happen. Anybody could have done that, but they're not doing it. So that shows that in his heart, he's looking for danger. Nobody looks for danger. So that being said, he's looking for our best interest. Born and raised in New York, taking the subway, volunteering, he's out there. He's out there for us, He's out there for law enforcement. And what is it good you want to, drive business up when the city is filled with crime? It's not going to flourish. So that's who I would, support. Curtis Lee.
That's good. That I know. I wanted you want to get out there in case you want to volunteer. Maybe we could help set that up too. You could volunteer for the campaign, because now you're a free agent. You can do what you want.
I'm actually going tomorrow at LaGuardia College. He's going to be there, 4 p.m. Is that, I think, the pre-debate rally? Yes. That's one. Yep. So
that's good to know, because you're a stand-up guy. This is BS. What's going on here? I mean, I've seen Epps. She's definitely added in the. She said. So Kwartishev says invalid hair testing dole, unlicensed psychologists, all of which are being exposed. And then she said, yet not a peep from the department. And this is what people need to realize. I know some people in here, they got a lot to say. Like, I got one guy, I don't know if he's an anti-cop person or whatever. Here's the problem. The majority of a rank and file cop, like a Frankie, like me, we always try to do the right thing by the people. But the way it's being run, it's criminal. I'll be honest, it's criminal. You have criminals that are running it. Now that, 3/4 disability, all this nonsense you've seen is because the criminals are running it from the top. Why? Because you have a criminal that was in office. Okay, and that guy let this all fester, never addressing anything. And now what you're seeing is a buildup of all the years of people saying, let's keep kicking the can down the road. Eventually, someone's got to answer for that can. You can't just keep kicking it down the road and expect that no one to answer for it. Because now, this thing with the hair test has been going on since 1996. That's going back to Giuliani's administration. I know Giuliani, everyone says he's a great mayor. He did a lot of things, but this was going on in his police department, whether he knew about it or not. And it festered into what you see today, all these administrations later. So this is the crux of the entire case, that it's all internal. And that's what I mean about the mass exodus in the police department. It's not because of a mayor. It's going to be because of the things like this, because this is something that I'm sure every mayor has no idea. Like, you think they're thinking about drug screening tests for my cops, or they're worried about other things? So no one's going to leave based on who's getting elected. They're going to leave because of stuff like this. Am I right or am I wrong, Eric? You're the best person to judge.
That's right. Remember, like, I agree with you because I put up a post about fear mongering. I don't like that fear mongering nonsense. You know, as far as I'm concerned, all these candidates are essentially the same. It's just a matter of how they're going to manipulate the system. But the bottom line is the police officer is supposed to be apolitical in the first place. If you are in the police department and you are deciding whether or not you should stay based upon politics, you don't belong in the police department. Police officers are supposed to be atypical. In other words, apolitical. So in other words, doesn't matter who it is, you're supposed to be enforcing law according to the standards, right? Not according to who's in the office, who said do this, who said do that. No. Because if you're doing that, then it's like I wrote about the police. Why you can't fix police corruption, because it's all depending on who the ruling class are. Okay, go enforce over there, but don't go over there. Well, they're doing street crime over there. Yeah, but they're over there stealing millions of dollars and drunk driving and everything else. You don't want to talk about that because those are your buddies, right? Oh, I got it. You want to go over the street guy, right? Violent. Yeah, go get those violent people. Meanwhile, they're the ones stealing millions. So, I mean, no, once you start getting into politics of the police officer, it's bad.
I've said this over and over again, and the way they're going about it, trying to make this thing into Mamdani or whatever. The police department will always run. Of course, it's who's in there, who's going to be running things for them, and who's a chief or commissioner. Those are the people that end up destroying things. And don't forget about in the precinct, the admin lieutenant, the commanding officer, captain, those people too. Because if a cop can't go home because he's working 3 shifts in a row and he has to come back in, if that's going on, what does the mayor have to do with that? That's all internal stuff. They don't answer everything they're telling the mayor. I have officer so-and-so doing no, they don't care. It's about internal. That's the mass exodus. Is how is the morale in the police department? And so far, under the last 2 or 3 mayors, that morale started souring and has completely tanked ever since. And there's no one trying to address that.
Yeah, the management's horrible. I mean, look, the bottom line is, you know, they always do these little experiments, like they bring in Tish, useless. I mean, useless. I don't call soccer mom because I'll get crucified for it. What I personally think, so I'll call her the savior. She ain't saving a damn thing. She don't even know what's going on. You can't, you make a mistake when you put people in charge of businesses, governments, groups of people, when they have no concept of what the hell they're managing. It just doesn't work. I don't care where it is. It's like the fire commission, this guy, some donor guy, like where the hell he come from? Howard Safer, some parole guy, and they keep telling me, oh, but these law enforcement saying, no, they're not. That's why the feds are having all these problems trying to manage all these people in these different cities. It's a big difference between investigating cases and managing street confrontation and groups and demonstrations and hostile groups. That takes years of training to get that stuff down pat. And even then, there's a lot of mistakes made. So the bottom line is you have to understand what you're managing. And the problem is it's horrible management. It's all based on friendships and all this other kind of nonsense that doesn't do anything for the rank and file. Because the rank and file is the police department. That's the backbone of the police department, but they're being worked to death. They don't have the equipment. They're working too many hours. The tours are supposed to be minimum. And you can't say minimum manning anymore because now you have a diverse police department. So you got to say minimum personnel on a tour. You have these business commands that have one car. How can you have one car on a 4 to 12? 4 to 12, one car? Come on, man. Are you serious? One car in this command. The joining command has one car. So you may have 2 or 3 cars to cover technically 3 precincts. How the hell does that even make any safety sense?
And they don't notify anyone because then that would go against the commanding officer.
Of course.
He can't manage his command, right?
No, come on, crazy, man. It's just crazy what's going on. That's what's burning cops out. That's what makes them want to leave. It's always been that way. It was that way when I was on the job. It has nothing to do with the mayor. Who the hell cares? All they care about the mayor is how much can they get a raise. That's all. But the day-to-day operation of the police department, that should have anything to do with who's in office. It's about how the internal managers are treating people. That's what's important to get right. So whoever gets in there, hopefully it's not Cuomo. He did enough damage. It's time for him to go into the sun. So it's either going to be, for me, either Mondami or Curtis. And at this point, I don't see why you don't give Curtis a chance. This guy, he was absent in his office, and normally I don't comment on politics, but I can say this. He's absent as a politician, as a senator, right?
Yeah, as a Congress, as a state
state senator, right? He's on how, and I know he's in the state senate. He's absent.
He's absent.
So what are we doing? This is the choices we have. Not much. And then the question is, who are they going to put in the agencies? Who are they going to put in the police department?
That's a scary.
Cuomo's got the audacity to talk about he would keep Tish. That alone, I said, is he joking or does he want to lose? Because that for that reason, if I could vote, I would vote him. I would definitely vote against him. Tish?
I think he's just trying to give a wink and a nod to a certain community there, thinking that might work. She's a horrible police commissioner. You know why? She doesn't understand the job. She never did. She was always, in the office. And then, of course, I don't know. There might be something between her and Mike LePetri. People, Chief LePetri there. I'm not allowed to talk about that. But that one is her and Chief LePetri. I mean, how do you think he got that job as chief of department? I mean, really? I mean, people not informed.
I mean, since you're talking about that community, I was told, and I'm trying to see if I get my hands on the evidence, because, I like to have evidence when I say things. There's a certain individual that's above the rank of captain. That could be any rank above captain. See, that's why I'm being coy. That he seemed to have taken all this comp time. He doesn't put in 28. Now, and I know who this person is. I'm just not going to say it right now. So I'm hoping that, every once in a while I get little care packages sent to my office, which is beautiful. I love getting this information. I remember I handled a case in another state and I got information in the mail. I love getting information in the mail because I know people are afraid to tell me directly or give me documents, but they can always send it to me during my investigation. As long as you're not stealing anything. The bottom line is, and this is a big one, and hopefully I'll have it soon, and then I'll expose who it is, because it seems to be that he takes vacation, he takes his time off, he doesn't put in 28s. And that's one of Tish's favorite people.
Oh my God.
So I hope you guys are listening, because I know you listen all the time. So you can scratch your head and try to figure that one out. But I already know who it is.
Well, I bet you she knows, because she's the one approving that or saying, don't go after my guy. So the police
and aviation, some other little tidbits of information. You're going to hear a few things about aviation soon. And we're going to hear that a certain individual may have been correct all along about his decision making. We'll see if they're going to tip the public about it. I'm hoping to get my little hands on that report too.
Yeah.
Because if you give it to the legacy media, they won't write the truth. They just write garbage that they get fed by the police department and their friends in DCPI.
Yeah, and as far as that goes, remember that aviation is being run by Inspector Ramos or Chief Ramos, who, as a lieutenant, should have been thrown off the job for criminally associating with someone who's in a gang, ran names and everything. Remember, I was a detriment to the police department because I was Roger Stone's friend. So how does that not equal what this guy was doing? He's with a Latin King or something.
Yeah, Latin Kings, yeah.
He was a Latin King. He didn't get fired. He actually got promoted. So he is the antithesis of falling up, fall forward. I don't know how that is. A lot of these guys in the department today are falling forward, but it's just nonstop. So he's another one, and he has no experience piloting a helicopter. I don't know if he knows anything about that, yet he's in charge of aviation right now. And they had two incidences that they've been trying to cover up. And that's a whole nother, we already went into that before. So that's a whole nother thing on top of this guy who shouldn't even be there. But again, he fell forward. You could criminally associate, you could run people's names, as long as you know the right people.
You're going to be hearing a lot about that aviation soon. Oh boy, there's a lot of misinformation there. A lot.
I can't wait. And in the future, we're going to break this down, and I'm going to actually have Rob Lukash, who is a chief and knows a lot. He's quiet about it, but when I get this, he's one of the co-hosts of Executive Perspective. I'm going to have him on when some of these things trickle down, because he knows a lot about aviation, because he was the chief of SOD, which is Special Operations, and there's also the Special Operations chief that's above Ramos, who's another issue on top of it as well. So it's not just narrow things down, and you can't be pointing fingers at the guy that used to be there when you have all these false safes on top of them that, basically whatever he says, whatever you think the CO could say, you get squashed by somebody above you. So there's a lot going on there. It's all going to come out publicly, and then we're going to see if I don't know if the soccer mom will still be around, but we'll see how the police department manages that. And if you think under I guess Adabasi or Ronnie Harrison, I don't know how Ronnie Harrison would take that job, but he's got a sexual harassment history and stuff. But yeah, we don't want to.
Don't say anything about that. But I don't know what happened in Suffolk.
Oh, he left. He ran away. He ran away when that came out, when that started to trickle out. So that's going to be a problem if he became a police commissioner. So, and Adabasi was running out there in New Jersey. Look, there's just going to be things.
Where is it? The Irvington Police Department?
Not Irvington. I think it was not Newark. Union City, I believe, is where he was. And
all those places next to us. Something else, boy.
Yeah, some hard X course says timesheet Harrison. Patterson, that's where Adabasi's in, Patterson, New Jersey.
Oh, Patterson. Oh, God. Man, I know the guys that work for the Secret Service that live out there. No bueno, man. It's tough.
This I'm telling you, this is going to be a lot to come out. It all depends how you in New York City the vote. If you vote low information and want Mamdani, or I don't know, you need a brain transplant because you want Cuomo because Donald Trump and his surrogates tell you to do so when he's got the lowest approval rating of any president in New York City history, or you're smart and you vote for the guy that actually has a chance to defeat Mamdani, and that's Curtis Lewa. Whoever comes in next.
Can I just say one thing before you go? Yeah. I saw two things I think was very disingenuous. And normally I don't comment on politics, but I'm going to comment on it. It doesn't mean I don't watch it. First of all, Katz. He came out with a public statement telling Curtis he should step down. Mm-hmm. Curtis should step down if he feels like stepping down. He should be able to run full and fair, whatever campaign he's going to run, and let the best person is going to win, and voters, that's the voters' choice. I don't like when they manipulate things, and that's very disheartening to see, but then I know what his motivation is. And then the other person was, who was the other person I wanted to comment on? Well, besides Mario Cuomo, and then he's also his boss, which I don't know why he commented on that. And then this Sid Rosenberg guy, I can't believe what I saw him. Well, people attacking me. I said, who the hell is this guy? I never seen him before. But listen to him. If I was Curtis, I wouldn't jump out of it either.
Yeah, unfortunately, those people work for John Katz. So that's the other problem. So Sid Rosenberg works for John Katz. So if you are gonna, you have to follow the company line, because apparently everyone on that station has been saying, especially on the air, Curtis Lewa has no chance. I've heard that so many times. I'm tired of hearing it. I got to be honest. I don't even want to go on the show. I don't want to even go on WABC. It really make me sick that what they're doing to this man.
Who else didn't have a chance? Giuliani didn't have a chance either. He won, right?
Neither did George Pataki, who I mentioned on the last show.
He didn't have a chance either.
Down 14 points. He was down 14 points 48 hours before the election and won by 3% in New York State, which is not a Republican stronghold by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, Ron Layson says Issa Adabasi works for the New Jersey Attorney General as police oversight. He's no longer affiliated with any specific department. So he jumped from Patterson to that. That's what he's doing. Right. So he's somehow, and nobody knows how. I don't know how he got that job either. So is another guy who's politically connected.
Those are political jobs. Those are all political jobs.
It's open. So you're going to have politicization of the NYPD under him as well, because that's how he gets the job. It's always the same thing with that.
If he sticks in it, he's got a chance. I mean, that's what it boils down. He has a chance, and we're supposed to be all for having open government and letting the candidates run and put their best foot forward. Then we try to control the outcome. Like I saw something interesting. When I know this litigation is going to come up, and since I'm talking about it, since we're voting, all these people who are undocumented that are on these rolls in these different states. There's always been this argument about, well, it's a civil rights issue for people not have identification to vote, to show, to vote. And I'm still perplexed about that one. What's so complex about that? I mean, really, how's that discourage people from voting? But they found in Texas that there was a bunch of people on the rolls, and and I'm sure in New York they have the same problem, although they haven't talked about it. So, these things with rigging these elections and special interests, it doesn't serve the general person that is in the public. It's special interest groups. That's it. And it seems to me that's what they're trying to gauge for. Like MGM, I know you and I talk about this MGM dropping out of the casino licensing business now. There's an argument that could be made. Billions of dollars will be wasted for 15 years. They won't get a return on investment. Or if you're really being sinister, well, they may have dropped out because a favor was promised to them so they could let the Bally win, which would then would help Trump with $150 million. Whether that's true or not is another story. But it seems like it's always special interests that are running things. Like, I don't know if you saw in the news that $1 billion tower that's in the city. It's like almost 100 stories high with condos. The thing is cracking. The thing is cracking. It's like 2015. They're so concerned that the thing, they have to close it, get everyone out of it because unsafe, and put $115 million worth of construction in a building that's not even 10 years old. Scary, right?
That's scary. It's funny here. G.I. Bro says, you rather Abbasi, who was a 3-star, or as PC, or Kaz Dodry? I prefer neither. I think they both would not be a good choice.
What? Nobody likes Bob the Builder? He'll wear the Bob the Builder outfit. He'll have the helmet on his head and stuff. And come on, that'd be interesting. Oh, and by the way, Kaz, if you're listening, you're not the first drone guy. Bill Bratton was on the X the other day with some small police department. They're the first ones to ever use drones in law enforcement. So it wasn't your idea.
Tell him that he thinks he's the first of everything. Yeah, and Ron Layson said, and this is in regards to policy, Ron Layson said he moved to AG because there was issues with his appointments to the Patterson Police Department by the Attorney General. So that's interesting. So again, this guy, and he's connected to police foundations and stuff. So this is going to be a highly politically motivated appointment, just like Eric Adams has done with Tish. And so that would be him being a police commissioner. Expect a lot of politicization of the NYPD. And they're already paying millions of dollars. We're trying to get away from this. Can we just have a police department run efficiently with a former cop, That's all I'm asking. Look,
there's philosophies of people thinking you can get a manager to run it. And I say, nope. You have to get someone that really understands this culture. I mean, look, there's someone in here can do it. It's just a matter of you digging for it. The bottom line is this outside experiment business, the only one that was halfway pretty good was Bratton. The rest of them, I mean, Lee Brown, that goes back to the 90s on the cracker, but then they had all that extra money for the Eddie Burns money. So they were hiring all these cops. That's when we had the most cops ever. It's over 40,000. Then Dr. Brown was a different story, but even he was an outsider, and he didn't run the department and how it's safe for none of them. Yeah. Really, you got to have institutional knowledge. If you don't have it, you're lost.
Yeah, this is bad. And Marlon said here, Patterson officials sued the state attorney general office for overreaching. So this is with the Bossi's appointment. He said that's boy, this is going to be something else. So, I mean, I've had you on almost 2 hours here. It was nice and long. We got a whole story. You know, I want to hear, everybody need to hear Frankie's story. So before I let you go, Frankie, what's your final thoughts? Where can people reach you and where can people follow you on social media?
First, I want to mention to the active members in the police department, if you get roadblocked by the union, by the unions, by your DA attorney, by the any union attorneys, the department, you're not alone. You can message me in Instagram, Facebook, and I'll be honest with you, the biggest support I ever had was from the Finest Unfiltered, Sal Greco, and Eric Sanders. So if you're ever in a position where you're modified, suspended, not alone, there's a way out, and also have faith in God. With him is anything possible. So that's all.
And where can people follow you, Frank?
Oh yeah, Instagram, and also X, Frankie Palaguachi.
There it is, folks. That's his X. I suggest you follow him because we're going to have the link up for his GoFundMe also. You can do it online later. We'll find it on there. And Eric, what's your final thoughts? And again, I think we know where to reach you. It's Esquire_Sanders on X.
I think people, in the department, especially since we're talking about the police department, need to have a little bit more understanding of how things work around them. That the rumor process is bad in the police department. You get a lot of misinformation, and there's people that are very judgmental and go, "Oh, it's this," and they did that. And meanwhile, that could be you one day. You just don't see it. I remember we all started in the academy, right? With bright eye and bushy tail. We're sitting in the academy and we're listening to them talk about the rules. That'll never happen to me. I want to be suspended because I do this and I do that. And then you go, and then it happened. And then you get suspended. And then you get terminated. You go, what the hell happened? How did that happen? People don't see themselves. When you see people who've been affected, believe me, it can happen to you. And the only difference is the circumstances. But don't think because you see people they're saying they're bad character or different things about them that it's necessarily accurate. Because I can tell you from doing this a long time now, there's a lot of inaccuracies out there, boy. They can spin a tale in 2 seconds. And the sad part about it, the average cop is so gullible they believe the nonsense. That's what's scary.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Very unfortunate. But listen, thanks for both of you to be on and finally get this together because I didn't expect it to end this way. I really thought the soccer would be smarter, but clearly, when it's not their money, they don't really care, and they need to help people accountable. So thank you both for coming on. Frankie will be in touch. We're going to have your link up. We'll repost it later. And, of course, Eric, I'm sure he'll be back shortly with some more breaking news in regards to the police department's, they're I don't know. What else could they possibly do that's wrong? It seems that they keep doing the same thing over and over.
A lot.
Yeah.
Trust me.
But thank you guys both. Guys,
Okay.
have a good day, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Take it easy.
Thank you. There you have it, folks. And just for good measures here, Phil the Heater guy said, Eric Sanders, thanks for being here. It's always great to hear your knowledge. Sal, thank you for having him. Frankie, I wish you luck, and we'll be reaching out to put an envelope in your hand. Good job by Phil the Heater guy. He had a lot to say today in the comments, but he's very accurate about what he's saying, because where are the unions? Where are the fraternal organizations? Oh, yeah, they're hanging out with Jimmy Rodriguez. I forgot. You got to go over there and hang out with the felons. Have a felony party, It's a felony hall wherever you go where that guy is. So without any further ado, let's have the producers take, because Jack has a couple of things he want to get off his chest with the mayor's race and the debate coming up.
Yeah, of course I do. Is the Republican Party drunk? Are they smoking the same weed as Zoran Mamdani? Is it something in between right now? Because I can't believe the level of divide that exists. On one hand, you have John Catsimatidis, Bill Ackman, the bigwigs of the Big Apple, as they're so affectionately known here on the Sal Greco Show, telling everyone to go vote for a Democrat that destroyed New York City. And then on the other hand, you have the Republican Party, the chairs of each specific
Oh my God.
came out today and issued a statement saying that we stand behind Curtis Sliwa. It's funny, too, because there's a little bit of pirating the family business, so to speak, with John Catsimatidis' beautiful and wonderful and smart, intelligent daughter, Andrea, being a member of that committee as well, alongside Michael Tenacious, Anthony Nunziato, and Liam McCabe, amongst others. I never thought that we'd reach a point where Republicans are arguing about who they should be voting for in an election, with a large portion of them saying that the Republican nominee should drop out. And also, I'm starting to believe that Republicans in New York City want Zoran Mamdani to be winning elections, because at the end of the day, while political parties are red and blue, the color of money is green, and the tale of Zoran Mamdani is too good for a Hollywood script to even come up with the specifics. And as such, I mean, look at this. Fox News, in one of their most recent polls, Fox News, who advertises themselves as being one of the most conservative media organizations in America, has Zoran Mamdani at about 50% in two separate polls, one with registered voters, one with likely voters. Now, to put that in context, Zenith Research, which did another poll before them, had Mamdani around 40%, and that firm is run by a Democratic progressive and Adam Carlson. So the conservatives seem to be the ones who actually want Mamdani to win the mayoralty. And it's very funny, sad, and ironic all at the same time.
It's bizarre. I know you've been attacked today also by Rich as a party, who's got like, he's trying to use Jack as a punch. It's ridiculous. This Cuomo campaign, they have ghost followers. It's just ridiculous what's going on in line. Who's attacking me? Then they go after John McCarry. I've seen something. I think they went after Eric Dim. Now they're going after Jack. It's just like, I mean, this is just policy issues alone. We look at nothing individual, because there's plenty of material to go after Facia Brute, Andrew Cuomo. We're not saying that. The personal ad hominem attacks from these people are ridiculous, and it needs to stop. We are going down the line with policies. Okay, look at this guy. This is Rich as a party. This is like Cuomo's top guy attacking Jack. I have no idea what the hell's wrong with this guy.
Yeah, and not a single factual statement was noted in this back and forth, except from me.
This guy.
But like, I'm saying, like, can you give me an explanation for why Sliwa should drop out and why your candidate is a good option? And then he calls me a fantasy booker. Who's fantasy booking? He's the only one that's fantasy booking. And mind you, this conflict was started because I called him out by pointing out that once the election is over, Rich as a party is going to be the first person that goes to the media to leak all of Cuomo's shortcomings, whether it be his strategy, what he did wrong on the campaign trail, how he treated members of his staff. These people are going to be coming out and doing anything and everything to save their asses so that they can get another job. Meanwhile, right now, they're talking out of both ends of their mouths, trying to leak information about why Andrew Cuomo should win an election that he has no chance of winning, with 43%, less than half of his own constituency base unenthusiastic about voting for him. That's statistical information. That's factual information. Nothing they've put out there is factual. I need an explanation somewhere from someone about how Cuomo is going to just absorb Curtis Sliwa's support base. He's going to get 12% of his supporters, even though most of Sliwa's supporters don't like him. That literally makes zero sense.
I've also heard the math. Here's the math, folks. Cuomo lost by 12% in the Democratic primary on a one-on-one. Where is he getting that 12% to overcome Mamdani and win overall when Curtis Sliwa's voters and the independents who didn't vote despise this man? Remember what this man has done. Cuomo has the highest unfavorables. He cannot win. This is politically correct and also factually correct. And you could pay $25 million to all your little influencer friends. That never works. And by the way, the Trump endorsement, there's plenty of guys he's endorsed that had their ass handed to them as well. He's not a god. He's not a deity. Everything he says is not sunshine and roses. He's made plenty of mistakes himself. I'm saying that Trump, Mr. Trump, Mr. President, worry about the country. Stay out of New York City. I know your sons have a real estate. You have real estate all over the world. Don't worry about New York City. But, John Katz blows up his phone. He's got to care about New York City because John Katz said so. So, and Bill Ackman, whoever, I don't even know who Bill Ackman was. So like a year ago or something.
Yeah, me neither.
These people. This other guy that I told you, this Ben guy or whatever, he's on X coming after me. I never heard of this guy. I asked John McCurry this morning, and he was parroting John McCurry's talking points 4 years ago. But he's from D.C. or from New York City. I don't know. But he's a Harvard grad. That's already a red flag. If you're a conservative, those are 3 red flags right there. You say, whoa, what is this guy doing? And he's parroting the Eric Adams doesn't deserve what he had done to him. So these are the people that are out there. I saw someone else I know. It's a female, and she's, going at it with John McCurry. She lives in Texas, and she took his job. Please, you get chased by somebody. Worry about that. You know nothing about this. So, I mean, this is crazy. G.I. Bro, thanks for the $1.99. That's the cafecito, by the way. He says, no espresso. This is just for men for the beard. Shout out to you. You've been in the comments. You've been great today also. I mean, this is just, I don't know what to say. This is a wild, by the way, tomorrow, just to let people know, we're going to have another debate watch. We're going to have it on, I believe, X. So I don't know if you want to give any details about that, Jack. We're definitely going to have that.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be having a debate preview at 6:30. And then when the debate is over, we're going to be live streaming the entire debate via X as well. And then when the debate ends, we're going to be having a roundtable discussion where we all give our thoughts. We're going to allow members of the audience to join in on the conversation by weighing in, giving their ideas as well. So it's going to be very much so of an open forum, and we invite anyone and everyone, whether they want to talk about public safety, the candidates, the debate. I'm expecting a very vanilla product. Has anyone out there ever wanted to see a movie, waited to see it for months, stood in line to see it, and then got in, watched it, and said, what was the big fuss about? I feel like we're going to be operating with the same kind of feeling when we're watching the debate. I'm not expecting very descriptive and vivid answers from Zoran Mamdani. He's kind of trying to take a knee and just run the clock out. He feels he doesn't really have any. No, I mean, the guy. He
is. You're right. That's what the best way to describe. He's taking a knee.
He's taking a knee, running the clock out. When he's given a minute to answer a question, the first 30 seconds are him filling it with fluff and talking about how he cares about New Yorkers. He's not going to be descriptive in anything he says or does, probably because his policy ideas are ridiculous, and he was never able to correctly implement any of them in Albany as an assemblyman for a very small district. So there's no way he's going to be able to do that as mayor. But you know what? We're going to wait to concern ourselves with that until the election's over. For now, we're just going to focus on the TikTok videos, the soccer tournament that took place at Maimonides Park, the cost of living classic. Is that what they call it? I'll go try and find the video in a second. But yeah, I mean, Mamdani's kind of in run the clock out mode. Cuomo is having an identity crisis. He still doesn't know what he is as a mayoral candidate. And then Curtis Sliwa is getting interrupted after he gives a 15-second response. So it's really a shit show, if you want to call it that. Yes, I did curse. And you just hope that the moderators are a little bit better. I'd like to see Errol Lewis talk about New York City earlier in the conversation instead of going over Trump and Israel.
No, that Trump and Israel thing was crazy. But that's NBC. Remember, they want to get clips. That's what they're all about because nobody watches NBC. As you know, nobody watches the Tonight Show. So they need something, and they thought that maybe they could get a little clout chasing off the mayoral debate because that's, remember, we know about clout chasing, as you know. Just ask the what was that? The young Republicans over here in Broward County, wherever.
Yeah, it's been a really bad month for the young Republicans and New York City mayoral candidates. You have one chapter in South Florida that has Eric Adams coming in for an event where he got a ton of donations, matching funds donations too that were publicly.
He's in trouble, by the way, with that.
Yeah, he's in trouble. He's in trouble for that. I have people going to the event telling me they didn't even know who Eric Adams was, except that he was a mayor of America's big city and was promising people a bunch of things. Then you have in New York City a young Republicans club making anti-Semitic comments in a group chat. Then you have the actual Republicans, or the people who claim to be Republicans in the city, turning on the Republican nominee. I think it's fair to say that the party is in a little bit of an identity crisis right now, just like a teenage girl, and they need to figure out who they are.
Yeah. And the leader of the party who's making the Rose Garden like Mar-a-Lago, just so you know. They're making a whole thing about that. Jack, what's on tap for the 10-Foot Tavern tonight at 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock tonight. We have Bruce Boyd, retired chief of detectives for the NYPD. Boyce, yes, excuse me. retired detective, chief of detectives for the NYPD, joining the guys, Tom Forcelli and or Tom Joyce and Peter Forcelli, excuse me. And then tomorrow we'll have the finest unfiltered in the morning, live at 8:05, followed by the executive perspective at 5:05, where Ron Layson and Rob Lukács will be talking about whether or not NYPD officers should be able to detain ICE agents. It's going to be a very large topic of discussion as we get closer to the mayoral election and subsequently the aftermath of it. Should local and federal law enforcement agencies collaborate? That's kind of the million-dollar question that everyone's searching for an answer for right now. And then, as I mentioned earlier as well, we're also going to be having a live X space both before the debate and afterwards on X. Everyone gets to chime in and say whatever they would like. So, yeah, we have a ton of content coming up as we come down the home stretch here.
Yep, and I'll be back on Thursday. So I wanted a little bit more about tomorrow with executive perspective. They're going to go into the Dan Goldman. I don't know if you know, Democratic, real winner over there, Democratic congressman. He's going to be talking about if you're right, if they can arrest federal agents in the NYPD and if they're violating New York State and New York City laws. Also discuss the Court of Appeals Ninth Circuit decision to uphold President Trump's authority to deploy National Guard troops and provide the latest updates on the ongoing mayoral race, which then, of course, Ron and Rob will jump on the mayoral debate party we're having, the watch party on X. So there's a lot going on. So they'll be on the show, and they'll also have to jump in. So it's just a big lineup here we have on the Finest Unfiltered Network, and we're all over this. And like I said, this is going to be a race for the ages. So make sure you watch all the shows, get informed, stay informed, and stick to the facts. You know, if you listen to these social media influencers, they'll let you believe that, New York City, they're under Sharia law when Mamdani's going to do this and that. Meanwhile, none of this is true. Like, none of this is true. And if this guy was to somehow make it through, just remember Bill de Blasio, because that's what you're getting. It's Bill de Blasio on steroids. How bad was Bill de Blasio? He was bad. This guy's going to be a little worse. How much worse? I don't know. But I'm sure John Katz would have him on his show if he was the mayor, just so you know. Remember that line right now. All these guys that say he's the worst and they're making all these names about him, they'll have him on the show. Write this down. It's October 21st. If somehow the worst thing could possibly happen, this guy wins. Okay? I still believe in Curtis, and I think Curtis can pull this through. But all of you need to jump on the Curtis Sliwa bandwagon. No, faltering and trying to get, because, Bill Ackman said so. Bill Ackman's got a lot of money. You don't. So remember that. And as long as he keeps you underneath his thumb, he'll remain one of the richest people in the world, if that's what you want. Keep listening to those people, okay? If that's the way you want to go. I don't see it that way. Curtis Sliwa, he can win. He should be the next mayor. Let's just hope New York City voters, the majority of them, and in this case, it's not going to be a supermajority, just the majority between the three candidates who's going to be voting, he gets the win. That's all that matters, is winning. I don't care if it's even by 0.5%, but Curtis Sliwa should be the next mayor of New York City if you want to save it. And I think that's pretty much wraps it up here. Thank you to Frankie Palaguachi and Eric Sanders for coming on. Thanks for everybody who tuned in. Thank you, everyone who's in the comments that's been commenting, whether you like us, you don't like us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to go to Free Spoke. You'll watch that advertising in a minute. And stay tuned to the Finest Unfiltered. There's a lot going on there. Also, don't forget, follow me on X at the Sal Greco. A lot of stuff I keep posting there. Also on TikTok, at the Sal Greco Show. Same on Instagram at the Sal Greco Show, and also Instagram at the Sal Greco. Get all the latest that's going on in the world of the New York City Police Department, NYPD, and global events. It's just right now, the number one event is this mayoral race, which happens to have just about every eyeball in the world on it, which I can't explain it, but that's what the billionaires want, right? That's what they wanted. So until Thursday, I'll see you guys soon. Don't forget to check out 10 Foot Tavern tonight, and tomorrow's a jam-packed day. So I'm signing off here from South Florida, which, as you know, is a sunny place for shady people. Now, I know you're tired of searching on the web for things and not getting the results you're looking for. I have something for you. Free Spoke. Free Spoke is a search engine that is all about authenticity rather than agendas. Labels, media bias, no intrusions, or data leaking, or your data being taken from you. Porn free, none of those ads, unlimited, unbiased AI, deep dive podcast searching, and you can get it by going to freespoke.app.link/Greco. Use the same link to get a 35% discount on your premium subscription. What are you waiting for, folks? This is the way of the future. Free Spoke.
Listen, there was a book that came out that Jasmine Ray wrote. And in the Daily News today, it was stated that there was a sexual action that happened in Borough Hall to be put in that book. And it wasn't. You're a dark, sick person, man. You know that? You're a dark, sick person. Your name was on the byline. And there's some of you that have been covering me. You guys could part. Let me do this. Y'all could depart. Some of you have been recovering me for 3.5 years. Some of you are so sick and dark, and you're the leader of that. You're one of the most dark writers that I've ever seen in this city. And your personal sick vendetta and the sickness of how you think of over-sexualizing a black man, that in the book is stated that there was a sexual action in Borough Hall. That was never in the book. But that's typical of the sickness and the darkness of your sick mind. You're one of the sickest reporters I know. Go to the next question. You're a sick person.